and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to, using the Codemasters game since F1 2010, in the desperate hunt for points. And you join us, having lost our rivalry with Daniel Ricciardo after finishing down in 17th in Abu Dhabi, but that doesn't really tell the full story. The Honey Badger jumped us in the pit stops, and we were kind of fighting for 13th, 14th until a silly mistake near the end cost us a few spots. But the last two races in India and Abu Dhabi have actually not been too bad. We've been consistent, we've been penalty free. That's kind of a good thing after the way this season's panned out. And we've driven well, I feel. India, obviously, we came away with points. Abu Dhabi, we didn't. But both races still defending astutely, robustly in places, but not causing too much in the way of carnage. But as I said, we have lost the rivalry with Daniel Ricciardo 4-2, which is a shame because we could have levelled up last time out and come into this one as a big decider, but we can at least win the teammate challenge this time around because, we're quite the distance ahead of Pedro for most things. As you can see, 35 points to our name. 35 more than HRT ever in 3 seasons of Formula One. Let's take a look at the standings before we talk about the debut for the Circuit of the Americas in this series. We sit P14. Just 9 clear of Nico Hulkenberg, way away from Kobayashi, so 13th is a gone thing. Is gone? That's the words I'm looking for. The fight with Hulkenberg is still on. We should at least still beat Daniel Ricciardo in the standings, even if we don't beat him in the rivalry. While at the top end of things, it's a 16-point gap for Lewis Hamilton, looking to take his second world title, obviously, after his real world 2008 title. It would mean that he'd take in our reality, he'd take a second title at McLaren, which he never managed. But Fernando Alonso is still very much in that fight. Mark Webber still mathematically in with a chance, but with 50 points on the table and a gap of 42, quick math, he has to do well. He has to basically win the next 2 and hope that neither Hamilton nor Alonso pick up any points, which is unlikely. Jenson Button is now eliminated from the fight. Vettel already was, so won't be defending his 2011 crown. And it's Grosjean, Rosberg. Massa made gains last time out to move up to 8th ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, while Schumacher jumped both Perez and Maldonado to move into the top 10. Kobayashi's 13th there. We are ahead of Hulk, Ricciardo, Verne, De Resta and Senna. They're your rest of your point scorers. Your no-point scorers are Kovalainen and Petrov, Peak, Della Rosa and Glock, and Kartikeyan, who shows up at the end of every race for the Drivers' Championship. Della Rosa at least ahead of Glock, but behind Peak, which I know HRT would have finished bottom, I think, if I recall, of the standings completely. But it would be nice to see Della Rosa jump Peak with a better result, but we'll see how that goes over the next 2. While in the Constructors, McLaren, I don't think are officially confirmed yet. It's a 68-point gap, and I work it out to be, 2 lots of 25 is 50. So if they were to 1-2 and McLaren didn't score in any of the remaining rounds, the last 2, Red Bull could still reclaim the Constructors' crown that they've won the last 2 seasons. But it is looking increasingly likely McLaren could have that wrapped up by the end of this race. Ferrari in 3rd and could still take 2nd from Red Bull if results went their way. Lotus and Mercedes are fighting for 4th, with Sauber trying to hang on to their coattails. Williams are in 7th, kind of all on their own. And we're 2 points clear of Force India and 12 clear of Toro Rosso, while Caterham and Russia are on 0. That fight for 8th is going to be a tough one, because both Force India and Toro Rosso are capable of picking up the lower end of points, whereas I am kind of carrying HRT with 2 fortunate results and 1 fairly competent one. But as I said, it is the first appearance of the Circuit of the Americas, the first American Grand Prix since Indianapolis dropped off the calendar in the late noughties. And this circuit, one that is still in use to this day, one that I think with the influx of other American circuits at Vegas and Miami, I think people are reappraising as a much more entertaining venue. We have had some great Grand Prix in Texas. We've had some dull Grand Prix in Texas. But a circuit that I think there are parts of this that are based on Silverstone. There are parts of it that are based on Belgium. It's a kind of hodgepodge of some of the more famous and well-respected circuits in the world, and it comes together quite nicely. But as I said at the end of the last round, whereas Abu Dhabi we were still for quite a while yet, we're still going to be competing with the extra chicanes that are in place and trying to find the quickest way around those again, because it's been a few years. COTA hasn't changed, nor is Interlagos, so at least the final 2 rounds are going to be circuits that we know very well from the modern day, and we know very well from playing them for years and years and years, because they've not changed. But I should probably still get out there and do some practice, see how this circuit is in 2012. I'm anticipating there will be some slight changes. It probably might be wider, just because of how the game is set up compared to modern day. There might be a few things that are a little bit different in terms of handling around here. So let's go out there, do some practice, and we'll talk about the 2012 American Grand Prix. The penultimate round of the 2012 season saw the debut of the Circuit of the Americas in Texas for the first United States Grand Prix since 2007. Sebastian Vettel led the championship coming into this race, but only narrowly ahead of Ferrari's Fernando Alonso.
You're showing good pace, keep it up and we should get some good R&D data.
The first practice saw Vettel top the times ahead of Hamilton by half a second, Alonso a further 1.5 seconds off the pace, with many drivers struggling for grip on the new circuit. Vettel would also lead the way in the second session, despite spending half of it in the pits with a water leak. The second session would also see an engine failure for Pastor Maldonado, while Kovalainen and Verne collided on track. Vettel would complete the practice hat-trick, topping the timesheets in the final session, a session that was marked by a collision between Perez and Charles Pic. Checo wasn't punished for the incident, much to the chagrin of Marussia. Qualifying started with many running extended programs in Q1 due to the lack of grip on the new circuit. The usual 6 cars found themselves out of the session despite Petrol spending a long time outside of the 107% time, and HRT even being worried they wouldn't make the cut. Cartigan would set a quick enough lap time before stopping the car on track, prompting a yellow flag that damaged many other people's laps. Daniel Ricciardo would find himself eliminated in Q1 for only the second time in 2012. It would be a double shock in Q2, as both Button and Rosberg would drop out. Rosberg only able to set the 17th fastest time in both sessions so far. Button would suffer a power failure late on, which deprived him of the chance to get a quicker lap time on the board. Vettel would take another pole position, meaning he would be also the first driver to score pole at COTA, ahead of Hamilton and Webber. Alonso had struggled through qualifying and could only manage 9th on the grid, leaving at a severe disadvantage. He was, however, aided by grid penalties for both Grosjean and a tactical penalty for Massa, Ferrari breaking the seal on his gearbox, to move Alonso up to 7th. Vettel would lead the drivers up to turn 1 while Webber got the jump on Hamilton behind. Alonso would also make gains quickly, taking 3 spots off the start to be right in the fight for the podium. Webber would hold Hamilton off for only a few laps though, the McLaren going back past the Australian and the Red Bull. Lewis would set about chasing Vettel while plenty of overtakes were happening behind, especially into the turn 1 hairpin. Grosjean would find himself facing backwards off-road, pushing to clear a Force India, while Verne would retire with broken suspension.
Pedro's in 4th at the moment.
It wouldn't be much longer until there was another retirement, that of Mark Webber, who first suffered a KERS failure before his alternator packed up and he pulled to the side of the track just at the end of the back straight. Pit stops would come and go, the mid to lower top 10 playing out exciting battles lap after lap as everyone tried to work out the best passing spots. The top 2, however, stayed fairly static, Hamilton hounding Vettel lap after lap. Hamilton would finally get past the Red Bull on lap 42, effecting a DRS pass down the long back straight while Vettel attempted to spook him out of the move. The Brit wouldn't look back though. Vettel would keep him honest to the end, but wouldn't be able to get back past. Hamilton would take his final victory for McLaren, and the first at this new venue, while Vettel would take second. Alonso would come home in 3rd place to keep the pressure on Red Bull going into the final round. Massa would finish 4th, ahead of Button, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Hulkenberg, Maldonado and Senna. Bruno would score his last Formula 1 point.
We've got lots of data this weekend. Looks like we'll be making some real development progress. Good job.
How can we perform in the Lone Star State? Well, we've got no previous frame of reference for this circuit, at least not in the early Formula 1 games. The track still being on the calendar and unchanged means at least we have a frame of reference in terms of playing Codemasters F1 games here. But, you know what, I don't actually mind this place. It's one of those circuits I don't get right every time, kind of feels like Silverstone. If you get it right, you're on fire and it's great. If you don't get it right, you spend a lot of time struggling just to stay competitive. It is fairly power dependent though, so we're going to be on the back foot a little bit. I do, however, think that there may be a small window of opportunity here after a decent practice, so I'm going to aim to top Q1, and let's look to start in P18.
We don't think you'll have any trouble getting into the next session, so don't push too hard.
In the garage then for the first qualifying session at the United States Grand Prix in this entire series. And obviously Q1 at the Grand Prix itself. Practice was alright actually. I feel like I can attack a little bit more in this version of the circuit. And you'll probably start to see that change over the years. It's narrower actually than I expected. It's wider these days. A lot less runoff, a lot more grass. But we ended at P11 in practice, which I know is no real indicator of what we could do. But I feel like we might have a very slim chance here at doing something great. The team wants 16th. We'll see if we can get out of Q1. So I best go out there and get some laps in and see if we can do our team bosses proud. Into our fastest lap in Q1.
Currently in 10th place.
You can see we're already quite the distance off the guys at the front as we run a little wide on entry into the hairpin. Big red at the top of the hill. But it doesn't compromise us too much as we head into the S's, the American version of Maggots Beckett's Chapel. That complex at Silverstone, and we always tend to run a little wide on entry to the final little bit. Take a fair amount of grass there, but you can get away with it in terms of track limits in these earlier games as we swing the car through. We're up in the first sector, so that's something as we head down towards that back straight. This is going to be the point of the circuit where if we get this wrong, the entry being a little bit on the wide side, we're going to be worried all the way down for time as we pass a Williams and a Caterham that were basically pushing each other along. Absolute maximum attack well before we get to the braking point. We brake heavily into the bottom hairpin. This one we get better. We cut the curbing on the inside, run a touch wide on the exit, but we're 2.2 up on our banker lap, so we know that we're going to be doing better. We are still, however, quite the distance off the guys at the top.
Okay,
Heading into the sort of technical section at the tail end of the lap, as we then back out of trying to hold the DRS open all the way through this long right-hander, which possibly cost us a little bit of time, into the penultimate corner. Keep it well away from the outside curb, else you will invalidate the lap, which we do. As we head into the final turn at Andretti, we get very wide on entry, which costs us time, but then it's the drag up to the line. So this lap, still not particularly quick.
Sector 3. That's our session over. We're way down on what we expected. You're on the back row of the grid, 23rd place.
Well, a terrible qualifying session comes to an end there then. 23rd behind Della Rosa, Peak, Petrov, Kovalainen and Senna, only just ahead of Timo Glock. It's only just comfortably ahead of Timo Glock, but the only person I am ahead. I don't know what it was. Felt great in practice, and then as soon as I got into quali, just absolutely fell apart. Didn't really go any which way that I hoped it'd go. And the thing is, if you look at it, it's not even like we're a million miles off the pace. That's the worst thing. We were on about a lap, and then I put it into the one wall I could find. We started our final lap on scrub tyres. We were on about a lap, and again, it just messed it up. So, yeah, it's a lot of work to do from here. But hopefully, much like the last few rains, we can get a good start, kind of push ourselves forward, and see if we can defend with everything we got. So let's head over to the Grand Prix and see what we can do from P23. Welcome on into the garage then for the first United States Grand Prix in Blue Flag Bandits, the 2012 edition, the debut of the Circuit of the Americas, and P23, just a terrible qualifying session, which is going to make it quite difficult in this here race. But let's take a look at the grid before we talk about what we're hoping for here. Championship leader Lewis Hamilton takes pole ahead of Vettel and Webber, Button in fourth. So the Constructors is swinging towards McLaren here. Fernando Alonso in fifth, really needs a good result, just ahead of Michael Schumacher. Another impressive top 10 for Maldonado in seventh. And it's Raikkonen, Rosberg and Kobayashi getting into the top 10 there. Paul di Resta in 11th, and it's Hulk, Perez, Massa down in 14th, Verne and Ricciardo. Then Grosjean again 17th, another terrible qualifying for the Lotus man, so he might find himself stuck behind us once again. Bruno Senna dropped out in Q1 with Kovalainen and Petrov, Peak, Della Rosa. There we are. And there's Timo Glock, the only person behind us. Only the fourth time, I think, that Pedro Della Rosa's out-qualified us this season. We should be polishing off the teammate challenge here today, if we beat him, even though we're quite a distance ahead of him. So even if he beats us, surely, never mind. That's something we've not really been paying too much attention to. But yeah, P23, really disappointing qualifying session. Just, I don't know, we felt good in practice, and then as soon as it came to qualifying, just couldn't hook up our lap. Not in the same way as I'd done in the practice sessions, trying to keep the DRS open through the S's and things like that. It's another circuit, much like India, Korea, and Abu Dhabi, with a long back straight, where we're going to be probably fairly constantly on the back foot. And we've got to make up positions early. It's a really weird uphill run into a very tight turn one, so we've got to be careful not to pick up penalties or damage and all that as well. So picking our way through the first few corners, I think, is going to be quite interesting. As soon as we're out on that back straight, we'll have a bit more of an idea of what we're fighting for. No rivalry to worry about. No Daniel Ricciardo, he's beaten us. So, I mean, in our heads, we know we're 4-2 down. If we were to beat Ricciardo here in Brazil, it'd be 4-all, which I'd take, but that seems unlikely. Points are a distant hope here. We'd need race full of carnage, or I don't know, just a really great start and to just be able to defend, and I don't think that's going to happen. The team want 19th. I think that's where we've got to aim. I think we really need to try and beat the Caterhams, the Marushas and Pedro here. After such a bad qualifying, it's not the first time this season. I mean, you look at somewhere like Japan, where we qualified 24th and ended up kind of comfortably ahead of them for the most part. But then you also look at somewhere like Italy, where we qualified 24th and could barely beat the Marushas. So 19th could be quite the challenge. But let's get out to the grid for the first United States Grand Prix of this series, the 2012 United States Grand Prix. McLaren, Red Bull, McLaren, Hamilton on pole, looking to take a big leap towards the title. There's Pedro, there we are, just Glock behind us. Need a good start here. First American Grand Prix of the series, 5 red lights, and away we go. The hold was not long at all. Straight into Rich Mix. Looks like De La Rosa's got a bit of a poor start. But at least they had a Glock. Let's move to the outside here. It's all getting a little bit feisty in the middle. Cut through the middle of the pack. Big old gap that Toro Rosso's fighting. Petrov to their outside as everybody. Constantina's up into the next couple of corners, right behind Sergio Perez. Up to P15. Decent start from the back. As Perez is getting held up by Paul de Resta, so we take the opportunity to go by the Mexican, up into 14th. De Resta being held up by everybody in front of him. Stay to the inside, late on the brakes. Second tap of the brakes just to avoid the back of Felipe Massa, but safely through the first few corners. Field spreading out behind us. Massa runs away ahead of us. Not bad from 23rd on the grid, but we're definitely going to be under pressure pretty much immediately from Nico Rosberg, I think. So if we run wide into Andretti, the final corner, can we stay in front of Rosberg's line? I think we can. Just as Paul de Resta gets past the Mercedes. Just like the last race in Abu Dhabi, there's a little group of 3 ahead of us who are fighting with each other, kind of concertinaing up into turn 1 as I catch some grass and run wide. Almost allows Paul de Resta through, basically forcing me to the inside there. You won't get a penalty for that. I would if it was the other way round. So Massa's trying to go around Nico Hülkenberg. I could do with Massa doing that. In fact, our constructors battling, 2 points between us and Force India. Do I try a cheeky move up the inside here? I do. Massa spots me. There's no contact. He runs a little wide past Felipe Massa, so up to 11th. Be nice to beat both Force India and Toro Rosso come the end of the season, but I fear it's going to be tricky with De Resta leaving just enough space to the outside. Vern's going to go to the inside. And again, much like Abu Dhabi, just finding a gap. De Resta has run out of road. It means he's fallen down the order. Massa's got past Vern. I feel much like Abu Dhabi, this is going to be one of those races where not really fighting for a points position, but just fighting for a decent result. As Massa goes flying by with a little bit of contact. Vern's going to come through as well, you feel. break Massa, and we'll go to the outside of the Brazilian and make the move. A decent move, happy with that. As I said in the last episode in Abu Dhabi, if of course I edited it into it, okay, is that a lot of this series, sort of 2011, 2012, has been being in a position I definitely shouldn't be in, thanks to getting a fast start, and then just trying to defend, even if it's worth nothing, points-wise. Probably continue to be so for at least the next two. That McLaren Honda season in 2015 is going to be interesting to see whether we are a bit more competitive. Could have gone back to man at that point in Russia, but wanted to save them for their final year in 16, so I think the McLaren Honda year is a bit of an outlier, and once again Massa goes through. This time we'll switch to the inside for Felipe Massa and outbrake him into the hairpin once again. Back into P11. After this, one more race before HRT cease to exist. Much like the likes of Minardi, Life, Andrea Moda.
Be aware, we think the car behind is trying to save fuel.
Coloni, AGS, Eurobrun, Simtech, the list goes on. But
Ferrari getting ready for a
lot
pit
like,
stop. We think it's going to be Massa. He should be pitting within the next few laps.
Oh, you may be going early there, but I think a lot like most of those teams, HRT maybe developed a bit of a cult following. Slightly before the more popular side of Formula One. Same Super Aguri as well, forget that. But I think they developed a bit of a cult following, because everybody loves an underdog. Well, at least, you may say it's a British thing. I'm sure it's not, but there are a lot of F1 fans who love an underdog, and HRT was certainly that. Certainly delivered them some glory. Perez has moved into 13th. Perez and Verne swapping places. Again, Massa gets the DRS, but can't break me into the hairpin.
That's 8 places up from our race prediction. Great job. Keep it up.
Down to 23. We've lost somebody. How far in front everybody is. We'll see if any names drop towards us, but I don't think so. I think there's somebody behind us. Massa goes to the outside once again. Once again, we brake late enough to just dive up the inside and take the 11th place back. Jean-Eric Verne, who's dropped out, so somebody in our immediate train has gone. That at least means Toro Rosso won't be scoring today.
Be aware, we think the car behind is trying to save fuel.
And Massa again, I think that's cost him his entire front wing. Yeah, it has. We now have another Brazilian to fight, this time Bruno Senna, but Massa not the first time in the last few races as we hopelessly wide, but just where we're trying to keep our line, or we're just off the racing line, the AI go, I'm going to take that gap. He just careened into the back of us, cost himself a front wing. He's going to need to pit. May have held up a few people on his way as well. Now it's us versus Bruno Senna once again. Once again, car goes to the outside in a gap that doesn't really exist. Go through.
Keep on him, he
much
might
like
make a
Massa
mistake.
before him. brakes, back up the inside, back into P11.
You're in 11th.
The AI in the F1 games will become more intelligent. They are really not likely in sort of 11, 12, 13, maybe even 14, if I remember correctly, as Senna breezes by. That's going to be a penalty.
Drive-through penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour. There's nothing we can do about it now. Stay focused and pit in the next 3 laps.
Well, that's ruined our race. He came around the outside of us, and it just... that happened much quicker than I expected. Just clipped the rear wheel, he went round up with it. So we'll go and serve a drive through and then we've got to pit at the end of the next lap. Frustrating. I was just saying the AI, they won't go for an easy move, they'll go for a move like that. And got a bit drifty, you can see the tyres not looking particularly great. And being on the edge of the points, we pick up yet another penalty. I think that means we've probably got more penalties this season. We've certainly got more penalties this season than any other season. We've got one, I think, in the final lap in Brazil in 2011. I think we've probably picked up penalties in about 10 races.
Watch out for traffic as you rejoin the track.
That white line on pit exit. We're out in 17th, so we're at least ahead of the likes of Petrov, De La Rosa, Glock, Peak, et al. Did say we wanted P19. Vern Massa lost his front wing, so he's not way off the back. Probably still catch us.
Watch out for the car chasing you. He's less than a second behind and will use DRS to overtake.
We are, I think we're probably capable of holding off the likes of Petrov, Kovalainen and such. You can see Petrov much quicker than we are. I'll have to head though to not be worried, I guess. Trying to do the maths in my head, trying to remember where we picked up penalties.
The pit crew are ready for you at the end of this lap. Box this lap.
Move up to P16. Somebody in the pits. Yeah, there are cars in the pits. Might have just been De Resta. All over the show. Tyres are gone. Petrov isn't going to get past us. We somehow hold that position.
The gap to the car behind is less than a second. Be aware he
we'll
may
lose
use
it now,
DRS in an attempt to pass.
We've got Pedro De La Rosa on our tail now. I've got nothing in the rear tyres. Really like a nice final race of the season in Brazil. It's been a very up and down season, mostly down. As Senna has been into the pits and left. Peak stays out. Glock also stays out, I think. Kovalainen doesn't. Massa goes by, so we're down to 21st.
Rejoin the track. The track is clear.
Glock and Kovalainen also came in with us as we
You have no more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
Petrov's just heading out the pits. There he is, heading up into turn 1.
Just fitted a set of prime tyres. Prime tyres.
Do I have enough pace to catch Petrov outright, I wonder? While he's on cold tyres, Rich for a minute, see if we can hunt down the Russian as we're down to 22. Somebody behind us or somebody in front. We'll find out in a moment. to 18th. It's past the Maldonado for the second race in a row.
You've got one of the caterhams ahead of you.
The Venezuelan is out. They're trying to cheat the inside move. Look at it. It does spook Petrov. Enough to be able to get back past the Caterham, so we're back into P17.
Good, we're 2 places up from where we wanted to be.
I think it's got DRS here. We'll go to the outside.
We believe the car ahead is running standard revs. Standard revs.
Easily get back up the inside then. And Kovalainen fighting a little further back. I think Pedro de la Rosa's on the back of them as well. Shall peak a little further off the back, although it could be the leaders closing, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Hamilton is closing on the back of the pack. Good, I'll take the one last lap there.
You need to increase the gap. You're within 1 second of the car behind. He will use DRS.
Comes Petrov again. And we'll just force him to the outside. He's only marginally quick enough to get alongside us. Well, he seems to mean I can just hold the line and take the place back. Hamilton entering the S's, I think, just as we're leaving them, so McLaren man will be close. I think he might, depending on where Fernando Alonso is, actually be on the cusp of taking the driver's title here as well. We don't need to worry about that. Here comes Vitaly Petrov. Well, look at the inside this time. Fast enough to actually pull clear of us. Not brave enough on the brakes to hold it. We'll be under attack from Vitaly Petrov. Goes Vitaly Petrov. Kovalainen next on the road. Can we get back ahead of Petrov? Yes, we can. Easily on the brakes. That's the pack. Actually closing in on us. We've got a little bit of slick then, but it looks like Kovalainen's getting lapped. Petrov's going to be up with us. Oh, a little bump then. Once again, just ain't breaking into the hairpin. It's right off when we go around the outside of him. Not paying too much attention to what's happening behind me, because I think Lewis Hamilton's there. Yes, he is.
Conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Quickly does Hamilton get to alongside us. Wide, much like we did with Senna. And this time, don't go into the back of the McLaren.
At the moment, the gap between you and the car behind is 3 seconds.
Giving us a little bit of breathing room to Petrov. And if he's being lapped by the next car as well.
We think the car behind is running on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
Comes Kovalainen to the outside. Okay, he's not going to be far enough in front of us to break us into the hairpin, so we'll be inside again.
You're now in 17th.
Petrov's getting laps back there. Kovalainen will be soon enough as well. Not soon enough to stop him from having a go. Front end plate gone on the Caterham again. AI trying to go for a gap that doesn't exist, and it's McLaren 1-2 at the moment. Which should mean that both championships are going to be decided here today, as it stands. Red Bull won't be able to catch McLaren. Hamilton will win the drivers. And Alonso clearly isn't doing enough.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Wow, final lap of the Grand Prix, need Button to go. Well, surely Button's got enough pace. Button to go, I need to drop in just in front. I think he Kovalainen.
Kovalainen's a second a lap faster than you.
One more lap to defend from the Caterham. Probably about where our pace was, but we had a traditional good start. Up to the fringes of the top 10. Defended from Massa, defended from Senna. Verne as well, a couple of others. Grosjean was back there. And then one little tap with Bruno Senna as Kovalainen again nudges the back of the car, again goes to the inside, again brakes too early. It gives me the opportunity to just straight brake and sweep around the outside and retake P17. I think he's getting laps now as well. This will be by Kimi Räikkönen. Yeah, one little tap on Senna's rear wheel, set me spinning, drive through penalty, kind of ruined what a fun battle we were having. Lewis Hamilton wins, and I'm pretty certain that secures the driver's title for him. Jenson Button will come home second, which I'm pretty sure also means that McLaren secure the constructors. We'll come home P17. No points, but still above objective. So there we are, P17, a lap down, along with Kovalainen, Petrov, De La Rosa, Glock and Peak at the back. But let's look at the top end of things first. Hamilton from Button, then Räikkönen, Webber in fourth. Alonso could only manage fifth, which means that the drivers and constructors titles are done. Lewis Hamilton is drivers champion and McLaren are constructors champions. Schumacher's in sixth, Kobayashi seventh. Hülkenberg picks up 8th, that's 4 points, which means that Force India are 2 ahead of us going into the final round. Perez 9th, Grosjean 10th, Vettel fell to 11th, ahead of Rosberg, De Resta, Senna, Ricciardo and Massa. Then, as I say, there we are, Kovalainen, Petrov, De La Rosa, Glock, Peak, Maldonado and Jean-Eric Verne unable to finish. 31 points the gap Lewis Hamilton has now. He's uncatchable. He is drivers champion for 2012. Fernando Alonso in second should have that wrapped up ahead of Webber. Button in fourth, Vettel in fifth, then it's Räikkönen and Grosjean just a point between them. They're fighting for sixth with Rosberg, maybe to an extent Michael Schumacher and Felipe Massa. Perez is 11th ahead of Pastor Maldonado, Kamui Kobayashi. We hold 14th. Nico Hülkenberg now, though, 5 points behind us going into the final round. Ricciardo still on 12, then Verne, De Resta and Senna didn't score. Kovalainen, Petrov, Peak, Pedro De La Rosa, Timo Glock, Carter K, your 0-point scorers, and Pedro doesn't look to be jumping Charles Peak by the end of this season. And then the constructors, 99 points to the gap. McLaren are constructors champions ahead of Red Bull, who should have second wrapped up. In fact, yeah, they do have second wrapped up ahead of Ferrari, who've got third wrapped up. Lotus and Mercedes, just 20 between them. They may still switch positions, but it looks unlikely. Lotus look like they'll be taking fourth. Sauber have sixth wrapped up. Williams have seventh wrapped up. We are now 2 behind Force India and slipped to 9th, but we're still 12 clear of Toro Rosso. If we can get 3 points in Brazil and Force India come away with nothing, we'll move back into 8th, but that's going to be a big ask. While Caterham and Marussia are 0-point scorers, and the titles are wrapped up. We're not going into a final round decider. and it's Hamilton and McLaren. So the first non-Red Bull victors by the third season. That's not bad going. But India, yeah, could have gone. India, America, United States could have gone better. Again, it felt all right, much like Abu Dhabi and India, to be honest. Felt okay, looked like we could defend and attack fairly well. But one sudden move by Bruno Senna, one immediate little bit of contact into the next corner, drive-through penalty, race over, essentially, for fighting for position. We would have probably moved into the points as well with Maldonado's retirement. So, possibly cost us a couple of points. Not many, I don't think, but a couple, which means that we are now behind Force India with 1 round to go. We can still beat them, but it is going to be a tough job. But had a nice fight, I suppose, with the Caterhams near the end and kept them behind us, which is good. After qualifying, didn't look like we were going to beat any of the other back markers, but came away fairly comfortably ahead of Marussia and De La Rosa, and enough ahead of Caterham to tick that box, and we beat the team objective, which is always good. One more time in 2012. That is the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos to close the season and close the chapter, close the book on HRT in Formula One. One more race for us, one more race for them. And then we're down to 22 and down to 11 teams going forward for at least the next couple of seasons, before Caterham also fall by the wayside. But at least we've got Haas coming not long after that. But that's still all to come. One more round. Hope you'll join me for that one. Thank you for watching this one. Like, share, subscribe, comment. You know the drill. Do all the good stuff. I shall see you for one last time in 2012. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.